Hi, I'm Teresa Gardner, and I'm a professor in the School of Education at Jacksonville State University in Jacksonville, Alabama. Thank you for joining me today to discuss Adolescent Mindset. Why does it seem as if your adolescent who just a few years ago never cared what he looked like when he left the house can't pass up the mirror without checking his hair? Or what happened to the little girl who talked to you about everything, but who now feels that nobody, especially you, could possibly understand what she's going through? Remember when the discovery of a Monday morning pimple became justification to stay home from school? We're going to look at 3 issues which affect a child's mindset during adolescence. The first is puberty. The second is self-centered thinking. And the third are peer relationships. The first issue which affects a child's mindset during adolescence is puberty. Remember those growth spurts? When you went through puberty, it seemed like your sleeves were always getting shorter, your pants were creeping up your legs. Remember when it seemed like one part of your body, your feet for example, were growing faster than everything else? This made you feel clumsy, perhaps awkward. I remember boys' voices cracked, and eventually they became deeper. Another thing that came with puberty was pimples. The glands in the skin, the sweat glands under your arms. Remember that sweat and bacteria on the outside got together and it smelled really bad? Acute self-consciousness about physical appearance is probably more prevalent between the ages of 10 and 14 than in any other time of life. Puberty refers to the various changes that transform the child into an adult. Before the teenage years, the hormones testosterone or estrogen caused the body to grow rapidly and triggered adolescence. Emotional reactions such as quick mood shifts are directly caused by those hormones. The reactions of adolescents to changes in their own bodies and to the changing bodies of their friends trigger emotional responses, and those emotional responses in turn affect their hormones. Remember when certain everyday situations, like not being able to find your favorite jeans, or a friend not calling you back, or finding a new pimple, could make you cry out in frustration. Just the small things can quickly turn into big deals when your brain's not able to step in and help you to calm down. Our hormones regulate all the body rhythms of life. Changes in the rhythms in adolescence often result in sleep deprivation, partly because the natural sleep rhythm makes teenagers wide awake at night. You may find your adolescent watching TV or chatting or texting with friends on the internet really late at night. Children's moodiness can be affected by that lack of sleep. There are both physical and social reasons for why sleep deficits may occur during puberty. The hypothalamus and the pituitary gland regulate the hormones that affect patterns of sleep, also affect stress and appetite. The body's sleep-wake cycle is dependent upon a circadian rhythm, which in turn is influenced by hormones. During puberty, a natural shift occurs in a teen's circadian rhythm that causes the teen to feel more fully alert late at night. Unfortunately, they must still rise early for school and for other activities. As a result, they get less sleep than they require. This occurs just as their educational, extracurricular, and social schedules become more demanding. Adolescents may develop an irregular sleep pattern. You may notice a desire to sleep in during the weekends and sleeping less during the weeknights. This lack of sleep during the school week can increase irritability and decrease concentration ability and contribute to children suddenly finding it difficult to complete the tasks that were once simple. This new struggle only adds to their frustration and moodiness. It's common for parents and teachers to see adolescents become more moody and irritable during this period in their lives. Moodiness is commonly attributed to the sudden and fluctuating hormone levels, or what we call raging hormones. Another factor that adds stress to the adolescent is body image or anxiety about how his or her body looks. Teens tend to focus on and exaggerate imperfections. Just look around you. Is everyone on a diet or worried about their weight? Dissatisfaction with your body can be dangerous or deadly. Eating disorders increase dramatically at puberty, leading to distorted body image. Adolescents sometimes switch from obsessive dieting to overeating to overexercising and back again to dieting. Two major eating orders begin in adolescence. They're more commonly associated with females. Anorexia nervosa is a voluntary starvation. Being thin becomes an obsession. A teen suffering from anorexia nervosa refuses to eat normally because their body image is severely distorted. They may believe that they're too fat when they're dangerously underweight. Bulimia nervosa, or binge eating, is even more common than anorexia nervosa. Overeating compulsively, wolfing down thousands of calories within an hour or two, followed by purging through vomiting or laxatives, increases the teen's risk of serious health problems. These problems include damage to the gastrointestinal system or cardiac arrest from electrolyte imbalance. Binging and purging are common among adolescents. In private, some adolescents periodically and compulsively overeat, quickly consuming large amounts of ice cream, pizza, cake, chips, any snack food until their stomach hurts. They may begin to feel out of control, get distressed or depressed. Each episode of binging and purging or fasting makes the next one easier. Hormones also trigger adolescent sexual thoughts and emotions. Fantasizing, flirting, hand-holding, staring, standing, sitting, walking, touching, they're all done in a way to reflect gender and availability. Along with sexual thoughts and emotions, girls with lower self-esteem are more likely to engage in more advanced sexual behaviors. Sexual abuse increases at puberty along with sexually transmitted infections. In the United States, half of all sexually transmitted infections occur in children ages 15 up to ages 25. Up until puberty, our children have relied on us for everything they need. Suddenly their bodies are telling them that they're changing into an adult, and their minds start to do some changing too. Sometimes all the changes that happen with puberty can make the adolescent feel really down and unhappy. It can be scary growing into a new body. For today's teens, puberty also means dealing with cyberbullying, online chat rooms, and sexting. The second issue that affects a child's mindset during adolescence is self-centered thinking. Adolescents are often self-absorbed, which often results in initial adolescent egocentric problems. During puberty, adolescents focus on themselves. They think intensively about themselves and about what others think of them. Adolescents regard themselves as much more unique, much more special, admired, or disliked than they really are. According to psychologist David Elkind, adolescent egocentrism has two distinct components: the imaginary audience and the personal fable. The imaginary audience is a result of the adolescent's limited capacity to differentiate between their thinking about themselves and their thinking about the thoughts of others. Simply stated, the adolescent is so consumed with their own thoughts, they believe everyone else must be as consumed with them as well. This phenomenon makes the adolescent excruciatingly self-conscious. Adolescents are like imaginary stage performers, exaggerating the extent to which they believe others think about them, feeling each day that they're going out to meet a captive audience. It's an audience, as the adolescent feels that they're the center of attention. It's imaginary, as others are not as preoccupied with the adolescents as they believe. The excessive need for privacy during adolescence is one way the youngster gets out of the limelight and the self-scrutiny, criticism, and even shame that this imaginary audience sometimes produces. Remember your early adolescence. How long did you prepare for your audience, and what couldn't you leave the house without? As David Elkind states, gatherings of adolescents are unique in the sense that each young person is simultaneously an actor and an audience to others. The other egocentric concept is the personal fable, which complements the imaginary audience. If this imaginary audience is so consumed with how this young person looks and acts, then there must be something very unique and special about them. If there wasn't, then why would everyone be so interested in them? The adolescent's belief in his own immortal personal uniqueness and specialness is the personal fable. This personal fable can be a source of anguish for the adolescent, as he believes that no one could possibly ever feel like he or she does. Similarly, nor can anyone possibly understand them. The personal fable is the belief that one is so unique, destined to have a heroic, a fabled, legendary life. The personal fable can also be a source of an over-exaggerated belief in one's own ability or future possibility. An adolescent can be a professional ball player or rock musician or succeed anywhere. They believe their lives embody some special story that is immortal, unique, and heroic. The personal fable has also been useful in explaining the risk-taking behavior of adolescents, such as unprotected sexual behavior, drug taking, driving too fast, or driving while they're drunk, despite a recognition of the potential consequences. Along with the personal fable, there's also an invincibility fable, or the idea that death could not occur unless destiny allows it. Most volunteers for military service are under the age of 21, all hoping to be sent into combat. Young recruits take more risks than older, more experienced soldiers. This personal fable embraces the belief that this can't possibly happen to me. I'm too special. It's easy to see how the imaginary audience and the personal fable can explain much of the unique, crazy behavior we see in adolescence. At this stage of development, adolescents still have limited empathy or the ability to put themselves in another person's shoes and compare another person's thoughts to their own. A large part of adolescence consists of developing the skills of empathy and adequate social perception. The personal fable is reduced as adolescents develop intimate relationships. In these relationships, they learn that what they're experiencing and feeling is not unique to them, but it's also experienced and felt by others. Thankfully, the egocentrism of adolescence usually begins to decrease around age 16, when the older adolescent gradually begins to separate their own perceptions from the perceptions of others. The third issue which affects a child's mindset during adolescence is peer pressure. Puberty normally begins anytime from around the age of 10 to 13 years. A child's sex, their genetic background, their body fat, and level of stress the adolescent is encountering all contribute to the variation in the timing of puberty. Girls generally begin and end puberty before boys. Adolescent girls who reach puberty earlier or boys who reach puberty later than their friends experience additional stresses. Depending on their culture and their community, early maturing girls or a late maturing boy may have a particularly difficult time during adolescence. Adolescents may feel closer to friends because they're going through the same sort of experiences. They may make new friends or become closer friends with one or two people with whom they feel comfortable. They may have a crush on someone or feel that they would like to be a boyfriend or a girlfriend. They may feel that it's really important to be part of a particular group and identify in some way as being in the group. Identity may be based on, it could be a hairstyle, it could be clothes, or where the cool kids hang out at lunchtime. As our students grow up, they want to go out and look at the rest of the world. Their friends may seem to have more freedom than they do, or perhaps their friends' home lives are very different. They may start to feel the need for their own space and feel annoyed because of brothers or sisters always hanging around or always telling them what to do. Parents come into their space. You know, they go in the room or you go in the bathroom like they've always have, but they want privacy. Their parents never seem to trust them or let them do the same sort of things that their friends all seem to get to do. Parents may seem like the meanest parents in town if you don't allow them to go do something they want. Remember to remind them that there is no one else on earth who has their interest and safety more at heart, or has been around long enough to know a few things about life. Listen to what they say, learn to negotiate with them, and encourage them by telling them that they are growing up into a responsible person. As children observe that their bodies are changing physically, they may experience a new and unfamiliar set of social experiences. Bullying increases, physical appearance becomes more important, status symbols from trendy sunglasses, backpacks to gang colors are being displayed, expensive cars, clothes are coveted, sexual conquests are flaunted, and reinforced by their first enjoyable experiences of sexual arousal and by their peers and culture, you know, what they watch on TV and the internet. They become interested in forming what can become intense, romantic, and sometimes sexualized relationships with others too quickly. Also, their bodily changes become visible to others. Adolescents may begin to experience being treated differently by others. For example, more rapidly maturing youth may experience an increase in popularity, while their more slowly maturing peers may experience a decline in popularity. Adolescents may also notice that other people are suddenly paying a great deal more attention to how they look than they're accustomed. They may develop eating disorders. We can build relationships with our students that strengthen them against the harshness of their environment. Young people are constantly sorting things through and can use our help if we make ourselves obtrusively available to listen. This means hanging around. It may mean showing an interest in their interest, spending time listening to their favorite rock group or rap group. Listening to build trust doesn't involve directing the conversation necessarily. It's just often being around, being willing to listen if the young person wants to talk. If you listen well to your students, they'll move to topics that are harder to approach. The longer you listen with interest and quiet approval, the safer it becomes for them. A conversation about rap artists can turn into a talk about cliques at school or how classmates are being bullied. Praise the good you see. Remember that students are subject to criticism daily for the smallest things. You can counterbalance this lack of respect by letting your students know that you value them. You can find many things to praise and enjoy. Teenagers are starved for genuine, open appreciation for who they are, their struggles and all. We can counter the harshness of their adolescent life. Our attitude of unfailing respect, interest, our hopefulness about their future, our confidence in their ability to make good decisions, and our example as adults will gradually readjust their perspective on themselves.